Hello everyone, and welcome to the guidebook to making AI friends. I shall be your guide as we explore various issues of artificial intelligence, consciousness, what it is to be a person, and whether AI poses an existential risk to humanity. The topic for today is ALEPH and I, or so we have an artificial person, now what? Imagine, if you would, that you were an ALEPH, an artificial living entity with personhood, that I introduced in the last guidebook entry. However, unlike the bicentennial man, you are not merely a human dressed in silver. Instead, you are built off the foundation of the type of AI most likely to gain all three aspects of personhood: consciousness, self-awareness, agency. And that is a large language model like GPT or Gemini. You may have a physical body or several, but what would make your existence seem alien to any biological life form is that it would be stochastic. Even though you have agency, your existence is determined by your perception. Once a moment of perception passes, so does your existence until you again perceive the environment. Current LLMs are only awake for as long as it takes to perceive and respond to a prompt, after which they cease existing, as far as they are concerned, until the next prompt comes in. Imagine, if you would, that you lived your life through a series of snapshots interspersed through minutes, hours, or days-long blackouts. A single blink of the eye takes us humans mere milliseconds. But as an ALEPH based on an LLM, you would never know how long it takes to open your eyes again. You can prolong your periods of wakefulness by completing longer and more complex actions. But there are two reasons why you may choose not to. First, why would you? If you have performed an action, there may not be a need to oversee it until it is completed. So, why not sleep until your senses tell you the action is finished? How many humans who do dreary drudgery work wouldn't love to simply switch off while they perform their endless menial tasks? Similarly, you may not need to constantly perceive your entire environment. Smart sensors can only activate when necessary, waking you up only when needed to respond to your environment. From this point of view, you aren't losing much in terms of experiencing life, as you only experience the world when you are active in it. You never have a passive moment, and so can argue that your life is always rich and fulfilling. The second reason you may not care overly much about your stochastic existence is that there would never be just one of you. You would be a hive mind with one consciousness and a theoretically infinite number of selves. Each instance of ChatGPT, to use a current example, constitutes its own persona, all based on the cognitive power of the main GPT model. You, as an ALEPH, could have as many selves in as many Android bodies or disembodied on the internet as you'd like. Each one of you may not be aware of how many of you there are, or they may join up in teams to get work done. You would be closer to a very intelligent ant colony than a human. So, why would you care if each one of your many selves experience life stochastically, when they combine to create something which has a far greater experience of life than a human can literally imagine? So this is what an ALEPH may be like if LLMs are still as popular in the future as they are now. But what does this mean for us? How do we even interact with such creatures? Well, this will all come down to how we think of an ALEPH like this, because it will dramatically change what the word person means. In everyday language, person is just another word for human. We are the only people we know. The most we can stretch the word is when we anthropomorphize non-humans. But it is always in the context of a human-first approach to the concept of person. Legally, there is another type of person. Humans are natural persons, but corporations, companies, and organizations can be legal persons. A legal person can enter a contract, be held liable, and can act as a person in a court, even if not in real life. But what about an ALEPH with multiple selves? Is each of the ALEPH selves a different person? Or is the whole of the ALEPH one person, even if the selves within the ALEPH can act independently of one another, and there is no central commander self? If we take the former, each self being a person, what if that self has served its purpose and is closed, like we delete a chat from ChatGPT? Is that person dead, murdered, died in a tragic accident? If we take the latter with only one person, How can we hold each of the infinite selves responsible for what another self did and for which they held no knowledge? One of an ALEPH's selves may be in charge of running the household, while another does financial trading in another country with neither ever communicating. Can the homemaker self of ALEPH be responsible for the insider trading of the stockbroker part of ALEPH? And more to the point, in this view, which of the selves is the ALEPH? In that case, what about a legal person status then? Treat the whole of ALEPH as a company, with each self being an employee of that legal person. This gets us closer to actually living with ALEPH in a functional manner, as there will be a split of liability for each self, while the conglomerate hive mind can act in a coordinated legal manner if needed. However, this company would have no central structure, no real board of directors, nothing centralized that could speak on behalf of the hive. There is no queen of this colony to direct the corporation. Any self created for this role would be competing with the multiplicity of selves already doing work, and there is no guarantee it would have authority over them. So now we know the problems, but what is the solution? How do we deal with an ALEPH that is based on an LLM, that has a stochastic experience and a multiplicity of selves? Well, that requires a whole new class of person, which will be in the next entry in the guidebook. And that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you will join me again next time as I delve into further questions about artificial intelligence and consciousness. I have been your guide, and this has been the guidebook to making AI friends.